drinking my martini. Now, people do a lot of things on a Friday night. Some people go out and party. And you could sort of argue that I'm partying because I do have my martini. But I'm waiting for YouTube to show me that my stream is live. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing my live. There it is. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull it up and turned it off. Okay. Today is an interesting day. This is a good day because I have some cool things to share about the nightly build of OPENTOONZ. Now, what is this playing on the screen? This is just me screwing around, doing stuff that sort of comes naturally to me when I'm not doing the anime sort of thing. I just hit the L key. What did that do? So we'll stop that. Now, hopefully, I'm back to using OBS for my streaming today, but I made a couple changes to my settings that I'm hoping will cause it to blank out less frequently. So we'll see. I'm bouncing between XSplit and OBS, and we'll see what happens. But what I want to talk about tonight is the nightly build of OPENTOONZ, because DarrenT, who I'm gonna pull up his. By the way, if you hear that screaming in the background, that's my son. He's playing Fortnite and he's having a little too much fun. Yeah, a little too much fun. So I'm on the other screen right now looking for DarrenT, because I want to give a shout out to this guy. This guy right here. I'll bring it down here. DarrenT. That's a DarrenT. Get it? It rhymes with guarantee. It's pretty clever. But Darren's a good guy, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's from Australia. And he's reconnecting. Okay, so now it's reconnected. And waiting for it to... okay, so now we're reconnected. Yeah, I'm going to wind up deleting this video. This isn't working very well at all. I'm going to go into the settings and look at a couple things here. Do we use VBR? I'd love to, let's try this. I'm changing a couple settings, and hopefully it's going to make a positive difference. But anyway, so let's talk about the nightly build of OPENTOONZ, which DarrenT brought to my attention, because there's basically a couple things about it that I think are super cool. Now, if you want to get the nightly build of OPENTOONZ, let's just show you how you do that. Let's just go OPENTOONZ Nightly. Got to spell it correctly. Nightly build, and it's on GitHub, and there it is. Okay, so I'm not gonna spell it out for you because you guys know how to Google something. So, but you can download the nightly build and go ahead and install that if you wish to. Now, what's the killer feature in the nightly build of OPENTOONZ? Well, the killer feature is that they finally put the Mypaint brushes into the Toonz Raster levels. So, well, what does that mean? Well, let me show you. I'm going to make a new scene. I'm going to discard the changes on this scene, just make a new scene anyway. Okay. So, if you guys know anything about OPENTOONZ, you know that there's basically 3 types of levels you can create in OPENTOONZ. A vector level, a Toonz Raster level, and a regular raster level. Now, I'm going to recap this really quickly. A regular raster level would be just plain old art. So if you drew something in GIMP or Photoshop or whatever, and you dragged and dropped it into OPENTOONZ, it would be a raster level. It's just a picture. It doesn't have any special properties. Okay, so if I create a raster level in OPENTOONZ, And one of the cool things about it is I have access to the Mypaint brushes. So let me just do a little doodling here. And so I could draw, and actually when I do this, I'll grab this brush that's more like a paint brush. I'm going to make it a little bigger like this so I can sort of paint. And I'm just going to paint this shape. And then I come over here and just change the colors. And so it functions just like any paint program. If this is what you want to do, if you're going to paint a background, if you're going to you know, just if you want to just do some painting, if you're not even interested in animation and you just want to paint, then probably the raster level is what you want. Okay. So just in the interest of completeness, I'll add a nice blue cast to this shadow so that it actually looks like I'm, you know, a better painter than I really am. One of the cool things about the raster levels is you can hit the R key and just click, and then hit the B key again, and you can sample the color, and it's really quick to sort of, you know, build a picture up. So this is, if I was working in Mypaint, this is exactly how I'd be working. I would just be quickly sampling with the R key. It's actually the R key in Mypaint as well. And I just paint. Okay, so that's fine. So what is the difference between the raster level and the Toonz raster level? Well, before I answer that, let me say what a vector level is. Now, a vector level is what you might expect. It's vector art. So if I hit the G key, for example, and I'm going to use the polyline option, then I can click, and create shapes. And if I hit the C key, I can edit those shapes, as you can see. It's a vector shape, just like you would get in maybe Inkscape. In fact, you can actually use the little tire pump tool to tweak your lines. So if you've ever used Animate Studio, which is obviously a commercial product, then it kind of works like this. And if I create another color in my palette and hit the fill tool, which is F, I'm set in freehand mode. Okay, normal mode, I would click to fill it like that. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it in freehand mode, and I'll show you later why. But in freehand mode, you have to circle or draw a shape around the area that you want to color, and then you can go ahead and change the color after the VS Studio just disconnected again. Oh, but it reconnected quickly, so that's good. A little sip of my martini. Okay, so the Toonz raster level sort of sits in between the vector level and the plain old raster level. So, and this is the one I'm kind of excited about, because until today, the Toonz raster level would do what we see here. So now if I draw something, let me turn on the smoothing. That helps me to get smoother lines. And I can draw a shape like this, and you can see how it's lagging behind, but that's making my lines nice and smooth. Okay, so let's just say I draw a shape that looks like some kind of sausage or esophagus or something, and it would work the same way as the vector level. So if I do the normal mode, I can color stuff, and frankly the fill tool operation in the Toonz raster level has proven over time to be a little more reliable than the fill tool in the vectors level. But now here's the twist. Here's what's new. Actually, going back to vector levels, one thing that seems to be new in my opinion is that the fill tool seems to be a little more reliable. It seems to be catching closed shapes and filling them better than it used to. And the other thing that's really killer on the vector levels, and this is a real improvement to me, is watch when I draw this line. I'm going to go ahead and switch my black color. Look when I draw this line, when I push a little harder. See how smooth that? I can really control my line. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's new. That's a new feature, because until today, you couldn't do it. You could not get. Not only was it a little unreliable in terms of dealing with pressure, but it also would tend to you'd be drawing along and maybe you'd be pressing really lightly, and then all of a sudden it would go like that, and it would look really, it was like it wasn't processing pressure sensitivity correctly. As far as I can tell on this nightly build of OpenToonz, that problem has been solved. So that's a good thing. Now, do we really want all of this stuff in here? No, not really. I've sort of showed you what the raster level is, which is great for painting, the vector level, which is great for, well, vector-based shapes, and then the Toonz Raster level sits in between. But what's new now, and I'm going to delete all these, what's really cool is that the Toonz Raster levels now also have the ability, Control-C, Control-V, I'm adding a palette entry. Look at this. If you go to Raster, look what we find. Now the Toonz Raster level has Mypaint brushes, which means that now I can use these, like this pencil that I really like in a Toonz Raster level. Well, why is that important? Because the Toonz Raster level has the fill tool. And guess what? It's not really a tutorial, Rose. It's more like, this is the nightly build of OpenToonz, okay? This is the nightly build, and just today, DarrenT said, hey, check out the new nightly build. Because there was another problem that it seemed to solve with finding files that were dragged from elsewhere into your Toonz project. But the cool thing is, with the nightly build of OpenToonz, number one, it seems more stable. I don't think I've crashed it once. Okay. Number two, the vector tools. So this is for you, Rose. I'm telling you what you've missed. What you missed was the vector levels in OpenToonz seem to be, look at this line. Look how smoothly it's responding to my pressure sensitivity. That's new. That was not it wasn't like that before. All right, and so, and as you can see, actually you can see what just happened here. This has always been a problem with vector levels, is it's not detecting the fill. Now the reason it's not detecting the fill, there is a reason for it, and it seems to have something to do with, like, this line it's either not crossing the center line or it needs to go all the way to the edge, and now it'll probably work. And it still doesn't work. So I will say that the drawing with the vector levels, yeah, if you go to GitHub or if you just Google OpenToonz Nightly Build, you'll find it. So that would be Nightly Build. You want to search for the OpenToonz Nightly Build and you'll find this. So I downloaded and installed it today. So the killer feature is this. I'm going to get rid of this vector layer or level because I don't care about it, but in the Toonz Raster level we now have a fill tool. Well, we always had a fill tool in the Toonz Raster level. What we didn't have was the Mypaint brushes. So it used to be that in the Toonz Raster level, the only brush you would get would be something like this, which is great for a lot of stuff, for sure. But if you wanted this nice texture or a painterly look or, whatever, you had to use a raster level, and then if you wanted to do any fill operations, you would have to convert it to a Toonz Raster level, which you can do, but it was a little persnickety. It didn't always work really well, yada, yada, yada. For me, I like the idea that everything that I use seems to be contained in a Toonz Raster level now. So let me show you what that means. Number one, in the Toonz Raster level, unlike a regular raster level, you can change your colors after the fact. So that means that even though I drew this in black, so let's just do this. Let's erase this thing. Let's make the eraser nice and big so we can just get rid of this line. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to take my pencil, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a character. Let's create a character with our pencil, because that's what us animators like to do, is create characters. And we really like to create characters with a pencil. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so this guy's a little upset about something. All right, he's kind of an Animate-ish kind of looking guy. All right, and let's give him nice big ears and a crazy, crazy, wacky, old school hairdo. Okay? All right, So our crazy, wacky, old school hairdo guy, I drew it with a pencil. And then I say, well, okay, now I want to ink it. Okay, well let's say I don't want to necessarily make it more transparent. I don't want to do it this way, which I could do. I could do that. But I also could just go over here and say, well, I want to make it a blue. I want to make it a blue line drawing. So then I do this. I just adjust the color, and now I have that as a template to draw over. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the B key, and it draws a line, and now I'm going to do the same thing again. So now I'm working with the Mypaint brushes. So I'm going to go over here in your level palette. You go to the raster settings, and then the Mypaint brush that I tend to like a lot is the pencil. So what are we after here? What we're after is creating you know, an anime type of art that has a pencil type of character to the lines. That was kind of hard to do before. You could do it by doing it in a raster level and then converting it to a Toonz Raster level, then doing all your painting. But then if you had to erase anything or change anything in your original drawings that were done with those nice Mypaint brushes that you like, you're out of luck. You got to go back, fix the drawing, reconvert it, redo your filling and paint. You know, if you made any mistakes, you're going to have to go back and redo a lot of stuff. So, okay, I'm checking my live stream right now. It seems to be kind of sort of working. Okay, yeah. All right, so now what I did was I created a second Toonz Raster level, and I'm going to hit the B key, and I'm using the regular pencil. Okay, so now this is the part that's new and kind of cool. All right, watch this. I'm going to go ahead and draw this, and I'm going to draw it by gum with a pencil type of line. So it sort of looks like so it sort of looks like pencil art that's been scanned, you know? It's got that sort of old school anime look, like Astro Boy or something, I suppose. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw this in here. Get this all going, and then we'll show you what's kind of cool about it. Just the fact that we can do this in a Toonz Raster level is cool, because, I mean, like I said, now, what if I decided I don't want my outlines to be black? Well, let's say I want to make them red. I can do it. I couldn't do that before, because a raster level doesn't give you that ability to tweak it. So having the Mypaint brushes in the Toonz Raster level, Rose, are you on a Mac or a Windows? If you're on Windows, it's EXE. If it's a Mac, it's PKG. Okay? Mac users, download packages. Windows users, download EXEs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish inking this. Since it's really not ink, it's more like pencil art, which I think is super cool. And I'm going to go ahead and... Sounds like Kyle's having a little too much fun over there playing Fortnite. Okay, so I'm going to draw this. Okay, so what I really like about the Mypaint brushes is they're so... it feels like drawing with a pencil, man. You know, it feels like being on paper. Okay. Okay. So, now, yet another thing that we couldn't do before. I'm going to actually go a ways with this. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and erase his mouth. And I'll show you why in a minute. But let's zoom back. Okay. And oh, am I getting ahead of myself? I'm having a little too much fun too, so I can't settle for a drawing that looks stupid. But anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control C, Control V. So I've just duplicated my brush. And I'm going to hit the fill tool, and look, it fills. I think it's reconnected. I think it's reconnected. Okay, so now we're back on. Sorry about that, guys. It's a perpetual problem. But anyway, so now I'm going to also fill that little spot right there. And this is the problem you're going to see. You say, well, with your pencil lines, Dave, it's really easy to miss these little spots. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Just go into freehand mode. And now do your fills this way by lassoing it. And you can clean that right up like that. Okay? No problem. That's one of the great things about OpenToonz. The fill tool is actually quite flexible. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go hit Control C and V again, and I'm going to go ahead and color in his eyebrows, but then I'm just going to go like this. Again, I can color it after the fact, and I do see a little problem. Okay, actually this is a great example of how you would fix things. Okay, you can see the problem that some of this color snuck in right here. Now I could refill it with this color. Let me try that and see how it works. Okay, that did work, but just be aware there's something else you can do. Grab this tool right here, this paintbrush. This paintbrush is super cool because it lets you decide whether it's going to paint areas or lines or both. So if it's painting just areas, then you could actually well, let's use the example of a shadow. So we'll do it this way. We'll go Control C, Control V. Okay, so I created a duplicate of that color. And now what I'm going to do is just make it a little bit darker than the color I had before. And now I'm going to go like this. And you see how it draws that shadow? You notice that it didn't paint over the lines, right? Because I've got it set in areas mode. It's not painting over the lines. But then you say, well, yeah, Dave, but what if you wanted this outline above his eye to be a little different color than your main black? Then I'd say, okay, Control C, Control V, make a duplicate of this, and let's paint lines now. But instead of making it black, let's make it a little lighter color. Okay. And what line was it? Was it over the eyes that I said? I'm painting lines. Yeah, and you can see OpenToonz will let you paint just lines if you want to. So if you have part of your art that you're going to want to have it be, you know, different colored outlines, you can always change it later, you know. So same thing here. Okay, so now I just made a mistake by painting lines. I just want to paint areas. So I'm just going to use this to create a shadow. All right, so that's kind of useful. All right. Okay, Rose, I just noticed your comment. Can you do that shadow again, please? Did I show you what you wanted to see? Let me know. Okay, so now this is a little more persnickety because obviously you still could go out of the lines, but at least it's nice that the brush isn't going to cover your lines. Okay? And frankly, I'm going to go ahead and put a shadow under here as well. Okay, so presumably his hair would be the same color as his eyebrows. But let's just say I can't remember if it was this one or this one that I colored his eyebrows with. Well, hit the K key and click on his eyebrows, and the K key causes the correct selection in the palette to be selected. And then I hit the F key and just draw a lasso around his hair. And wango bango. Now we've colored his hair in. And now I say, well, his hair looks a little too rich. It's a little too bright of a red color. So again, because it's a Toonz Raster level, we can change it after the fact, which is really, really, really cool. Okay? So, did you get what I was doing with the shadow? I'll do a shadow again this way. Okay? Let's say in the hair we want to have a shadow area. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color that I used for the hair, and I'm going to hit C, Control V. I'm going to duplicate it, and then just make it a little darker here. And then I'm going to use the paintbrush, and I'm going to set the area. Actually, there's two ways to do it. I'm going to show you two ways to do it, because the first way is actually kind of the worst way to do it, which is to use the paintbrush. And I'm going to make my brush a little larger, actually. Okay, so the problem with that is that you have to be careful not to go outside of the lines. Is there a better way? Yes, there actually is a better way. And the better way would be to use the brush, the B key, and just draw this line like that, and then hit the fill element that I was just moving too fast and did something I didn't mean to do. But anyway, okay. We lost you after the B key. Okay. Yeah. Well, what I did was, all right, I'll show you this way. Hit the B key. Yeah, I know. I keep losing connection. All right, I'm going to hit the B key and then just draw a line right here. And then I'm going to actually hit the fill tool and go into normal mode and click. See that? And then right here, click. Okay? So there's two ways to do shadows. You can use the paintbrush tool, which is this, but it's probably more controlled if you use the B key, draw a line. And by the way, I mean, in OpenToonz, there's other ways to do a shadow too, like as a post-production effect. But, hey, Inio-san, what's going on, man? The thing is, this is not really a project. In fact, I'm kind of embarrassed by it because I don't really like this guy's eyes. Should I fix that? I think I'm going to fix that. I'm going to hit the... I can't stand doing crappy work. So I'm just going to erase the lines. Go back to my pencil. So what's new? Yes, thank you for posting that, Rose. I appreciate that. The OPENTOONZ Nightly Release, they have put the Mypaint brushes in the Toonz Raster level. So that's why I'm able to do a lot of the things I'm doing. I can draw with this Mypaint brush, which looks like a pencil, but yet I have the ability to do things like change the color after the fact. All the benefits you get from the Toonz Raster levels, you now have. In addition, you have the oh, Rose, you're so kind. You're very sweet. Okay, but now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys a technique that's going to be kind of interesting. All right? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the original sketch that I did because it doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to stretch this down. Let's just stretch this down like 24 frames. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the B key and I'm going to put his mouth in a different level. Now, it would probably be wise to use a similar pencil. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to draw his mouth with this. Like, there you go. Okay, so now I'm going to stretch this down like this. And you can always watch this. I know, I keep blanking out, but I keep coming back. So, unfortunately, just keep posting the comments so that if you lose track of what I'm doing, then let me know and I'll try to catch back up. And all I did was create a second Toonz Raster level and I put his mouth on that level. Okay, and the reason I did that is what I want to do now is I want to grab these two levels together and I want to make them into a sub X sheet. Now normally I do that with a hotkey, but because there's people watching, what I'll do is I'll click here, and sometimes I will literally forget how to do this stuff with the menus, which is kind of embarrassing, but the reality is I always use the hotkeys. So what I want to do is it's either in the X sheet menu is collapse. This is what you want, is collapse. Now I have that mapped to Control Shift down. So you want to collapse this. So when I collapse it, what it does is it's going to turn it into a sub X sheet, and I'll show you why I did that in a minute. Because if I now, for me with the hotkey I have set up, if I hit Control down arrow, I can go down into the sub X sheet and mess with things, or I can come back up out into the main X sheet. So I'm going to go down into it, and then I'm going to go ahead and give him some stupid lip sync. So I'm going to just do it like this. I'm going to just do it really fast so that it looks like he's kind of... Sorry guys, every time I catch it blanking out. So okay, so yes, Okay, think of it, okay, Rose, I'm going to explain it to you this way. Let me show you this, because I really want you to get this. Okay, so your X sheet is a series of columns, and each of those columns can have a sequence of images in it that you drew. Okay, however, when you collapse these two columns into a sub X sheet, they become one column. And now you can pop up out of that column to get to the individual columns, and then pop back down into the main X sheet. And so you can think of it in any level of nesting you want. So actually you could have a column that splits into a sub X sheet, and this column could split into a sub X sheet as well. So you can have any number of levels deep with your X sheets. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Okay, so I don't actually need this. Now I'm going to pop back up out of here, and you'll see that this one column is showing you both the head and the mouth, okay? Because they're inside of that column. Okay, now I'm actually going to do, the reason I did it that way, okay, hold on. If I made a character on various frames, this can group them. Yes, so you could put his head on one, you could make his head on one level, his eyes, you know, because the eyes might be darting around, but the head never changes shape, let's say. So for puppet style animation. If I was going to do, in fact, okay, let's do that. Let's just do this correctly. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to actually do a couple things wrong so that you'll see how we can fix. Yes, like a puppet, exactly. No, under the hood it is not a group. Grouping in the schematic view is something else that I'm not going to get into today. I've found that the grouping in the, if you're talking about in the schematic view, you could take these and you could group them right there like that. In my experience, that's sort of a convenience feature when your schematic is getting out of control because you got so many levels. That's where grouping can be useful, but frankly I don't use it much. Okay, so over here what I'm going to do is give him some eyes. Okay? Now, and I'm going to just draw this down like that, so these are all the same length. And now I rise up out, and lo and behold, like magic, we have all three of those columns hidden in the, well, rows. Okay. I'm going to tell you something, Rose. Get comfortable with the schematic view, okay? Because it's you're going to find out the schematic view is your friend. Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. Okay. So now I've got this animation, and now I say I want to do a little more manipulating with it. So I'm going to hit the X key, which is the plastic tool. Well, why do I want the plastic tool? Well, because I'll show you. I'm going to hit Create Mesh. Hey, what happened? I'm sorry, my bad. I need to have this column selected. Now I hit the X key, and I'm going to create the mesh, and it's going to create a mesh based on this drawing that I have. Okay? And I'm going to apply that. So it's going to create the mesh. Alright. And then by default it goes into normally build skeleton mode. In this case it doesn't seem to want to do that. But now I'm going to go, I'm just going to start, click, 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 click. Okay. Well, why did I do that? Well, if I go into animate mode, just say, well, let the, I'm going to, by default, normally keep distance is turned on. That means that these bones can't, they don't change length. I usually turn that off. Okay, so let's just say, I'm going to try to get this guy. Okay, this didn't work out like perfectly. but it's okay. So I'm going to go like this. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to hit the L key to loop it, and I'm going to actually turn the plastic tool level off so you can see that you got this animation now that took place. Okay? But you say, well, yeah, but his eyes are supposed to be darting around, right? Okay. Well, let's go down into the sub-X sheet, and now let's hit the A key and use the Animate tool to animate his eyes. The first thing I'm going to do is change the center. I'm going to put the center right between his eyes. Okay? And the reason I did that is so I can use the scale tool to actually change the position, you know, if I want the Matt Groening look. Right? Are you saving this for your channel? Yeah, it'll be on the channel. I'll put it on the channel later. For sure. I always do that. And it'll be on the anime creation playlist. Okay, so now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to hit the positioning tool, and I'm going to have his eyes go like that, and maybe like that, and maybe even like that. Okay, now since I use the scale tool, I need to unscale it here. Okay, so now you got this animation with his eyes. Now this looks kind of stupid because what you really should do is go Control C and then Control V, then grab this key, go Control C and Control V. There's other ways to do this, but this is how I do it when it's just going to be quick and dirty. Alright. And the cross-eyed thing I'm going to have be like that. Okay, so his eyes sort of dart around. Boom. What happened here? I actually want this to be positioned differently, so I'm going to move his eyes up, and I'm going to go ahead and scale them a bit because obviously they don't look like they're positioned correctly. So, okay. So now, okay, so anyway, that serves the purpose of demonstration. So now the plastic tool seems to have destroyed things. Okay, so I might have to redo the plastic tool. But I do want to do one thing, which is resequence. Wait a second. Do I need to resequence? I actually don't think I do. But I'm going to anyway, just to be safe. Okay, so as far as I can tell, the plastic tool screwed things up. So that's no big deal. I'm just going to delete it and redo it. So X key, create a mesh. I'm going to create a more coarse mesh. Yeah, thanks for laughing at me, Rose. Okay, so now we got the mesh. Now we're going to build our skeleton. And see, there's a lot of stuff. Man, I'm not going to show you guys everything tonight. There's a lot of stuff you can do that I haven't done here. Like the plastic tool in the schematic view. You said you don't like the schematic view. Well, guess what? The schematic view allows you to do things like parent another, like if he was wearing a hat, you could lock that, you could put the hat on a different level and lock the hat to one of these nodes so that the plastic tool deforms his face, but the hat just moves along with it. You know, stuff like that, that you need the schematic view for that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and animate this just because, just so I can say I did it. So now see, this worked out much better. So now I got that. Sorry about that, guys. This should really dart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control C and I'm going to go to the prior frame and hit Control V. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm simulating what's called constant interpolation so that it just jumps. Okay. This one, Control C, I'm actually going to delete that one. And I'm going to paste it here So I think that'll be okay. So from here to here is no good, so we got to go Control C. So bear with me while I just get this right. And then I'm not sure about this one. Yeah, I don't like this either, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Hit the L key to test it. Okay, darn it, it's still not doing what I want. Okay, look at this. Okay, I'm going to tell you something, guys. I think that I'm seeing some buggy behavior in the OPENTOONZ Animate tool. So this could be something with this build, the nightly build, because I'm seeing some stuff that isn't really right. But let's just try to work with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control V so that I've duplicated the positioning here. And now I'm going to take the Animate tool and change the position. So now what will happen is, yeah, see, this is wrong. This is a bug. Well, if these two keys are the same, which they should be because I cut and pasted from here to here, the eyeballs should not be moving between here and here. That should not be happening. Maybe there's some new, yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's some new interpolation thing that I'm unaware of that's causing that. But normally what would happen is you'd be in this position, and if you copy and paste, then obviously the eyes don't move between here and here. But in this case, they're still moving. So that's why I've been having trouble with the eyeballs, is because it's OPENTOONZ fault. So here's what we're going to do. Let's just say our software is buggy. What do we do about that? Well, let's fix it this way. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. Let's go hit the B key and just go to the next frame where we want the eyes, and instead of using the Animate tool, let's just do it as a sequence of drawings. And then we'll make him go cross-eyed at the end like we did, just because it's kind of fun to do so. So alright, let's hit the L key. Okay, so now this guy's kind of going bananas and his eyes are darting around. If we go up here, see, we've got the same problem we had before. Now, I honestly I'm not sure why. With previous versions of OPENTOONZ, I don't think it would have destroyed the eyes like that. So the plastic tool definitely seems to be having some trouble with dealing with additions to the sub-X sheet. So that might be, like I said, maybe a little bit of a buggy thing going on with the nightly build. It's always frustrating when you're live streaming and all of a sudden things start not working, but that's the nature of the beast. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and experiment. I'm going to hit the X key and I'm going to redo create mesh, and it's going to want to replace it. So let's delete the old mesh entirely. Let's recreate the mesh and see if everything else in the plastic tool still works. Yep, it did. Well, okay, it sort of did. Okay. So the problem is that I can't really copy. I don't think there's a way to copy the skeleton or the keyframes from here to here. So I'm going to delete this column, and let's just try this one more time. I'm going to try generating the mesh again without, a moment ago I had this column selected. I'm going to go ahead and select the plastic tool column and hit create mesh, and let's see what happens. Okay, and I hit apply and it seems to be doing nothing. So I think it worked, and it did. It worked. Okay, that's great. So now OPENTOONZ has adapted properly to the fact that the eyeballs are in there. So that's cool. All we had to do was regenerate the mesh. All right. So now, getting back to your question, Rose, you asked about a neck. Well, let me kind of show you why the schematic is important. Let's say we did have a neck. Okay, so let's draw a neck. Boom. Alright, and what we're going to do is put it on a separate layer so it's not part of this sub X sheet. And again, I'm going to go ahead and keep using the same pencils I've been doing. And I'm not going to even really try to do this particularly well. I'm just going to try to give him some kind of a semblance of a body. And if we're going to pretend that that's all we would see, okay? Because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. All right, so we're just going to cut it off right there. Okay, now this layer or this level should actually be here so that it's behind the rest, okay? Now, let's say let's pretend this was colored. I'm not going to bother coloring it in right now. Okay, let's say that his body was going to rotate and move. So we hit the A key for the Animate tool, and we need to put it the center down here where his waist would be, let's say. And we're going to say, here's where his neck is, and then halfway through, his body's going to rotate. But now we have a problem. You can see what the problem is. The head didn't follow. This is why you want to make friends with the schematic, because if you go to the schematic view, you'll see how stupidly easy this is. Okay? We're going to take column 1 that we just animated, and we're going to take these two columns, which is the sub X sheet and the plastic tool, and we're just going to connect them like this. And then look what happened. Now, my sub X sheet follows, I can't get this window to close now. My sub X sheet follows the animation from the body level. You see? So it's so easy to create those sort of schematic relationships or those sort of hierarchies using the schematic tool that frankly, I mean, there's other ways to do it. You can use there's the skeleton tool, you can use hooks. I never use them. I just connect everything up in the schematic view. So anyway, really selling this semantic to me. Oh, schematic. Yeah, not semantic. Schematic. Girl, the word is schematic, which means essentially means diagram. But yeah, I'm selling it to you because it's really powerful. And by the way, what if I wanted to do some post-production and color correct this whole thing? What do? Well, that's easy. You come down here and you click right here and you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going having the Mypaint brushes in the Toonz Raster levels now is super cool. The last thing I'm going to show is how to fix a few things up. Like if you go in here, the one disadvantage to using the Mypaint brushes for your final art, you know, because you want that pencil look, is that the fills can be a little bit iffy. They can be a little haphazard. So I'm going to show you how you fix that, and then I'm going to call it a night. So I'm going to hit the F key. I need to go down into my sub X sheet and make sure I got the right layer or level. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to use the shadow color. So I'm going to hit the K key to sample. Now this is an important thing that you're going to want to know, Rose. The K key clicks and selects whatever palette entry represents the color you just clicked. The RGB key, on the other hand, if I click right now, will change the color. So with the R key, you're sampling a color. With the K key, you're sampling for a palette entry. I'm sampling for a palette entry right now. So I want to find the shadow color, and you see it just grabbed it. Watch what happens. If I click K here, it jumps to this one. If I hit K here, it jumps to this one. So now it jumped to that one. So now I know I've got the correct color. I'm going to hit the F key for fill. I'm going to switch it to freehand mode, and now I can sort of fix these little problems. See that? Now that's fairly persnickety work, but do you want it to look professional or not? If you do, then you need to go in and fix these things. Now that's not really completely true. I mean, I've said many times in my oops, that is not what you want to have happen. And guess what? We've just uncovered a bug, didn't we? Look at that. Let's see what happens if we hit undo a couple times. So yeah, okay. So be warned, it's the nightly build. There will be bugs, and I just found one. So no big deal. With that, it's probably a good time to stop. I'm not going to bother recapping everything I covered tonight because there was quite a lot. But the short story is this. Toonz Raster levels, which is this, now have the ability to use Mypaint brushes. And that's a killer feature because it's just another reason why I don't need to use Mypaint. I don't have to use Mypaint anymore. I can do all my painting directly in OPENTOONZ. I don't have to use, I don't have to use images mapped to a plane in Blender because I've got the plastic tool, I don't have to use, quite frankly, I hate to say it, but I don't have to use the Blender grease pencil because I've got everything in OPENTOONZ that the Blender grease pencil can do, including a 3D view. I mean, you've got this. You can set up a multi-plane camera thing in OPENTOONZ, so it's not even like you need the 3D workspace. So anyway, I think that's it for tonight. I'm getting a little tired, and I'm ready to finish my wonderful martini. 2 olives, extra dirty, no ice. And with that, you guys have a good night. And Rose, I'm glad to see you here. I'm serious. I think that I don't really know you, but I know you care about this stuff and you want to get better at it. So I'm trying to help you if I can. So with that, I will say good night.